coach. All right, help me break it down as we typically do, and we will do during the football season. Every Tuesday with our Football in the 20s, we welcome in our good friend Johnny Mack, John McMullen, Eagles Insider, SI Now, Philly Voice, and, of course, 1490, Birds 365 show with Johnny Mack and Jody Mack, so Mack and Mack, if you will. Give him a follow on Twitter, at JF McMullen, and, of course, host of Extend the Play. Johnny Mack, how are you?
I'm doing well. Well, you're starting the pot there, Rich. I love it. Stir that pot.
I have to, because I will tell you this. I mentioned it last week a couple times on the air, and I believe, now this is just me, my opinion, which doesn't really hold any water, as they said in My Cousin Vinny. I believe if this team is 0-4, 1-5, or maybe 0-3, 1-4, 1-3, whatever. And this kid has one of these 8 of 18, 89-yard performances, say against Kansas City or Carolina on the road. He's going to get benched. I believe his leash is short. I believe also that they make a trade for Minshew, whether people want to read into it or not. He's still on a rookie deal. You paid a lot of money for Flacco as a backup. This kid, it's not his team at this moment. This is just a chance, an opportunity, and I believe it might be short-lived. I hope that's not the case, but that's just my opinion. What say you?
Yeah, well, he definitely has a small path, a small opportunity he's got to take advantage of, because clearly the Eagles have set up this insurance plan with the draft capital and the cap space to do whatever they need to do after the season. I'm kind of torn on Gardner Minshew, because I don't think it makes a lot of sense, because I don't think he's a legitimate NFL starting quarterback, but either is Jalen Hurts right now as far as being proven. If you want to be honest, Minshew is more proven than Jalen Hurts. So I do think it puts a little bit more pressure on Hurts in the short term, that if you get off to that poor start, especially with his personality, people are going to be clamoring for him. You know how
sure
football fans are. I mean, it's just the way they are. So I think it creates another issue that probably didn't need to be there, to be honest. So, you know, I would think the Eagles would have learned something from what happened last year, in the fact that, look, you can say Gardner Minshew is better than the average third-string quarterback, and that's completely true. And you can say he's cost-effective, and all that's true. In a vacuum, it makes perfect sense. The problem is real life isn't in a vacuum. You saw it last year. Carson Wentz shouldn't have been concerned about Jalen Hurts, but he was.
Yeah.
And part of the reason he derailed was because Jalen Hurts was here.
Yeah.
You can say he should have been more strong-willed, and I agree with all that. Nonetheless, you got to learn a lesson, and that lesson is human nature. So the Eagles are kind of going down the same path to bring in a third-string quarterback, and I didn't understand that part of it.
The one thing that I've kind of nailed home, even with the opening monologue. I mean, you think about this franchise, even over the last, 5, 6, 7 years, going back to Bradford, right? Doug Peterson basically comes out and says, look, you do your job. You don't have to worry about it. Well, quarterback in Minnesota goes down, and then, boom, trade him and opens up the door, obviously, for Wentz. 2016 to 20, Wentz was the guy. I can't recall an Eagles season where, you know, they might go on the record and on paper say that Jalen Hurts is a starter, but I'm not confident that this is kind of a ride or die with this kind of guy going into the season, if that makes sense. I mean, it's always kind of been like clear cut.
No, should it be? I mean, that to me, but look, he's unproven. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. So I had no problem with the Eagles coming up with the insurance plan, but to me, the insurance plan is the potential 3 first-round picks, all that cap space to do what you have to do if this season gets derailed. Now you have a couple layers to it, and the fact that you have Gardner Minshew, who has started 20 games over his first 2 NFL seasons, and at least statistically, he's performed pretty well. isn't winning games, which is the only statistic that matters. So you throw that sort of muck into things, and I think it confuses the issue. I really do, because people are going to see, 93 passer rating, 66% completion percentage. I got to deal with it every day with Jody Mack. He's a stat guy. I'm like, the guy stinks. I don't care what his stats are. He can't play. But I don't know if Jalen Hurts can play either.
And that's what makes it, so vexing, so perplexing. I hate to play this just as a dicey game now that I'm going to play with you, but I'm going to lay the scenario out right now. They lose to Atlanta. I hate doing this, but I have to. They lose to Atlanta. They are competitive but lose to the 49ers, and say they get waxed by the Cowboys and the Chiefs, and they're 0-4, and this kid looks flat-out shaky. You've said this. I've heard you say this. Coaches don't like losses on their ledger. With that being said, if this kid looks shaky, the offense isn't clicking, he looks lost, can you see him bench? Can you see them turn around and just sit this kid and just save him from himself? And if they do that, do you believe, and I'm asking a lot from you, Johnny Mac, do you believe it is a short-term type of benching?
Well, in that scenario what you just laid out, if it's not only an 0-4, but it's an ugly 0-4,
yes,
then yeah, I think not only is he benched, they're pulling the plug. They're going in a different direction. They're probably going to go to Minshew. And then, long term, they're going to look to the 2022 draft and say the ultimate quarterback isn't here yet. Or it could be Deshaun Watson if they could ever convince him to actually put Philadelphia in the hopper. But all that, that's speculation. Week 1's very important because Atlanta's not a very good football team. They really aren't, if you look at them talent perspective-wise. So some concern, as silly as it sounds, because as you mentioned, the schedule really ramps up early in the season from there. San Francisco is a good team. They're not a great team, but they're a good team. We know Dallas, at least offensively, has a lot of weapons, and then obviously you talked about a really good team. But it could go really bad really early in the season. And yeah, I mean, this is why I didn't agree with bringing in Gardner Minshew. Because if you want to give the kid a year, give him a year. Don't bring in this other sort of part to it where people are going to clamor for this particular guy, and then you have a rookie head coach dealing with that kind of pressure. It just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Listen, I don't even know how we got to this point. Would they be a better team with Carson Wentz under helm right now? Who the hell knows? I mean, honestly, what if I said Johnny Mac right now on September 7th, give me your realistic expectations on this season? I mean, where are you putting this team? 3 wins, 4 wins? I mean, I've heard people say this team's capable and could win 10 games. I mean, okay, I got Swampland, I'll sell you. But what's your thoughts on the season as a whole? What would be a success?
Well, I think a success would be somewhere right around 500. You can't be 500 now with 17, but 8 and 9, somewhere in that range. I think that would be a massive success. But I do think you point out that the wild sort of gesticulation of people where they could be. And I think my buddy Mike Sando does this every year where he polls league executives and they say, okay, who's going to finish where? And the Eagles were, I think they ended up 11th in the NFC, which sounds about right. But, how'd they get there? One guy had him 5th, and 2 other guys had him 14th. So that's sort of a wide range you have. Look, they could be better than people expect because the offensive line is really good. They're really old, but they're really good if they're out there. And the defensive line is really good. So if you can block people and you can rush the passer, you got a chance to win some games. And if the quarterback is decent, then you could start talking about putting together some wins. if the quarterback is, 52% completion percentage, they're not going to win. They're not going to win games. So, I mean, we got to see Jalen Hurts for 10 reps in the preseason.
Yeah.
Anybody who tells you what this kid is lying here.
Yeah.
Because none of us know. None of us know.
Yeah.
I know he's got more. He's got potential to be better than Gardner Minshew, but he's not going to be Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers. So there's a big swing. Where's this kid going to be? I have no stinking idea, to be honest.
Johnny Mac, so a couple years ago, Eagles draft Dallas Goedert. Okay, he's going to be the guy that's going to supplant an aging Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz now wants out. All of a sudden, they reconcile. He's happy. He wants to be around for a while now. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, who's going to be more effective in this offense? Who will be more reliable? I mean, do we look at everything that's transpired now over the last year with Ertz and say, I think this guy's going to he might have a pretty solid season, and he's going to take away some reps and some snaps over Goddard? Or do you believe that you can see kind of a mixed bag, 50-50 bounds here between a two tight end set? So what's your thoughts right now on the whole Ertz and Goddard situation?
Well, it's interesting because I think Nick Sirianni's getting to the point Doug Peterson would get to every year and say to himself, okay, I want more speed on the field. I want more receivers on the field, but my receivers aren't good enough, and I got two good tight ends. So you ultimately put the tight ends on the field. It's interesting because the Eagles came out with their first depth chart today.
Yeah.
And it's always unofficial, but they listed them both as co-starters. Mm-hmm. So to me, the answer is, well, who do you want on the field? Do you want Quez Watkins on the field, or do you want Zach Ertz on the field? Do you want Quez Watkins on the field, or do you want Dallas Goedert on the field? To me, that's a pretty easy answer as a football coach. And I think Nick Sirianni's gotten to that. But I will say from watching Nick every day, I think he loves Zach Ertz. I think he got him here and he said, wow, he's healthy. This guy can play. So I think the head coach is happy that Zach Ertz is here. Now you start talking about Dallas Goedert was supposedly going to be the tight end one, supposedly going to play more. How is that going to affect things? You got to talk about contract. He's up for an extension. He thought it would be done by now. Mark Andrews is getting big money. All of a sudden, Dallas Goedert is more and more expensive. Now the Eagles got another problem. Do you re-sign Zach Ertz? Do you sign Dallas Goedert? You can't have them both.
No.
It's crazy how that has turned.
Sticking with the offensive side of the ball, you mentioned unofficial depth chart. Smith, Watkins, Rager, these are your wide receivers. I mean, look, I think they're going to try to run the ball. I can see Sanders having close to 300 carries for the year. Yeah.
You ain't making it. You ain't making it to 300.
I know. But listen, John, I don't trust the line as much as other people do, and it's also the quarterback, right? And when you're a young quarterback, what do you need? You need a good tight end, which they obviously have, but you also need a running game. Now, all right, maybe 300 is way too much. How about 275? Which, again, last year he carried the ball, I think, 165 times. So you're really asking him to carry the load. And you're right, he might not make it. I think that's a little too outlandish, my 300, so I apologize to listening audience. I'll stick right around 270. That's a ton of carries. But remember, too, he only played in 12 games last year. So when he played 16, he carried the ball 180 times, averaged about 4.6. My point is, I think they should be a run try to run the ball first and foremost, and I know that's not going to be the case. Are you confident with these wide receivers that they have?
No, not at all. I mean, I think Devontae Smith is going to be a really good player, but, he's a rookie. There's going to be some hiccups, and then you talk about two second-year receivers who, I don't know. I mean, Jalen Rager's just too inconsistent as far as route running goes. I don't think Quez Watkins is physical enough. I think you're going to see that early in the season. I do think they're going to be a run-heavy team, even though Jeffrey Lurie doesn't like that. But it's going to be more of an RPO type. I mean, Jalen Hurts is going to be a big part of that as well.
Yeah.
As far as that running game, they've been pretty honest. I mean, they've kept everything under wraps because Nick thinks he's got an advantage early in the season. But he's been honest about he said time and time again, running back's going to be a committee for a couple of reasons. One, health reasons. Miles is not Derrick Henry. He can't handle that kind of workload from a physical perspective. And, he's not a good pass catcher, we know. He's not a good pass protector. So you need those different traits. So they're going to go committee. So if you get to 275, but, part of it is Boston Scott, part of it is Kenny Gainwell, part of it is Jordan Howard being elevated from the practice squad when they can elevate him. Yeah, maybe you get there. But I just don't think, Miles Sanders is not that type of back who's going to be able to carry it a 250 plus. And if he does, he's going to get hurt. I mean, history shows that. And I think the Eagles are very cognizant. And just Nick's whole philosophy in Indianapolis was the same way with Nyheim Hines. And he always goes back to the Chargers and Austin Eckler. He wants that committee approach in the backfield.
Listen, I don't know more than these guys. I'm not the biggest fan, and you mentioned, you're right. I mean, when you look at Sanders as a whole, if you gave him that 4 extra games last year, even at 20 a carry, he would have got to about 240. So I don't think it's...
Well, yeah, I mean, that when he plays, it's fine. But the point is he's going to get banged up. Yeah. That's the point.
Yeah. No, listen, I hear you. I mean, I think there'll be some games, though, you might see him 20-plus carries. I think the only game he had 20 carries last year was the game against the Rams.
Yeah, there could be some games. I think the staff would be more willing to ride the hot hand.
I think that's
so.
Okay.
If he's playing well, keep feeding him the football weight. But I do think, and Jamal Singleton, and he's the new running backs coach and assistant head coach, said the same thing as well. They're going committee, so I think you're going to see a three-headed backfield to start. And they want to get Gainwell on the field. I don't know if he's ready. I don't know if he can handle it. But I got to tell you, Rich, late in training camp, they were throwing everything at him when it came to hurry-up situations, late in game situations. They're going to try to get him on the field. If they're down, 4, they got to go the distance. They want him on the field as the receiving back. Can he handle it this early in his career? We'll see.
How's it? What about is pass blocking a strong suit?
No, like most rookies, it's a struggle. That's one of the issues. Probably the only back they have that is at least competent in pass protection is Howard, and he's on the practice squad.
Yeah.
So that's going to be an issue, and they got to figure it out. But that's like a lot in the NFL. I mean, backs coming in, they really, really struggle with that part of the game usually. So, Miles was better at that as a rookie than he was last season, so maybe he can bounce back a little bit as well. But they seem to want to get Gainwell that sort of role, and we'll see if he can handle it.
All right, a couple more before I let you get out of here. And again, it's a football in the 20s. Johnny Mack, kind enough to join us. Rich Quinones here. We'll take you up to 6. What would be your biggest fear, biggest concern with this defense? If you're pointing out one, if you can highlight something and say, you know what, this might be one of their make or breaks. Like this can be some. Like I know teams. You talk secondary. You talk maybe lack of depth from the linebackers. No pass rushers. Where is it with you with this Eagles team on the defensive side of the ball?
Definitely outside corner. If one of the two starters gets hurt.
Yeah.
Darius Slayer, Steve Nelson. Those guys are fine. Darius is still a really good player. Steve Nelson is really competent, but after that, it just drops off the table. And the Eagles just signed somebody about a half hour ago on Denver's practice squad, Matt McLean, as a rookie corner. They definitely need help at outside corner. Zach McPherson's there. They just have nothing. It drops off the table after Slay and Nelson. So, it doesn't. And generally, if you look at the NFL, you're going to need 5-6 corners to play. That's one of those positions where you get banged up. There's hamstrings. You're going to need certain guys to play. And after those first two, it could be a struggle for the Eagles.
You like them on Sunday to go on the road, rookie head coach, essentially rookie quarterback, no one giving him a shot in hell, but yet going against a team that, let's be honest, on paper isn't the best. I mean, could this be that you feel good for a moment, win for the Philadelphia Eagles, and then all of a sudden reality sets in?
Yeah, I think it could be exactly that. I do lean towards Atlanta, and I haven't decided yet, but my mentality is, look, they're bad football teams in general, potentially. I think the Eagles will be better than the Falcons at the end of the season. But I always say with bad football teams, you don't want to play them early before they realize they're bad. And you certainly don't want to play them on the road. So, I look at it as rookie head coach versus rookie head coach. Just what I said, the Falcons don't know how bad they are right now. And you have the season opener with fans back. You have the environment to deal with. So all of that trends in a negative direction for the Eagles. But I will say I think the Eagles are the better football team. So still weighing it. A lot of negative things, though, that the Eagles would have to overcome.
All right. I know probably later on the week you'll post, or you and Jody Mack will get into your season predictions and stuff like that. So I won't have you disclose them now. However, I will ask you to give me, and this can be Eagles and it can be NFL-centric for the entire league. Give me a very bold Johnny Mack prediction for this upcoming season.
A bold prediction. Let me go bold. Tom Brady finally gets old. One of these years it's going to be right. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers aren't going to be as good as people think they are. Didn't they say it like 7
years ago?
Yes. At one point, you have to be correct.
All right.
At one point, it's going to be right, and I'm going to be ahead of the game, Rich.
All right.
And people don't forget about it if I'm wrong.
No, that's all right. You're always right with us. All right, Johnny Mack, I always appreciate it, pal. Enjoy Thursday kickoff, where I think the Cowboys are going to get waxed. Maybe that's not the night Brady gets old. And then we'll recap everything on Tuesday. I appreciate you, pal.
All right, thanks, Rich.
All right, you got it. Our guy, John McMullen. Johnny Mack, a bold prediction. Tom Brady gets old. Huh? We shall see. All right, quick timeout, 4:42.